Okay, I'm Emily.
I'm Haley.
I'm Aniyah.
I'm Harley.
Um, for this project, our garment category was casual bottoms, and between the four of us, Harley researched a pair of cargo pants from Abercrombie and Fitch. Haley looked at sweatpants from Nike. I looked at sweatpants from Old Navy, and Aniyah looked at denim pants from Fashion Nova. I'm going to be discussing our takeaways and conclusions from Part A. So, in terms of differences between our garments, there weren't many outstanding ones. Each pair of pants had four panels, and between the four of us, Harley's cargo pants had more shaping, structure, pockets, and pieces. There was less shaping in mine and Haley's pants because they're sweats, but both of our pants had elasticized waistbands. For quality, Aniyah, Harley, and I felt that our garments weren't the highest quality, and Aniyah and I also agreed that we paid a fair price for our bottoms, but Harley felt she paid too much for hers. The three of us also agreed that it probably didn't cost much to produce our garments, and it's reflected in their quality. As for Haley, she felt that the quality of her garment was really high, and she was satisfied with their performance. Finally, our takeaways from Part A were that our garment category had a smaller effect on our findings, whereas the brands we chose to research had a larger effect on our findings from this section.
All right, and I'll be doing part B, which pertains to the quality of our garments. As a whole, the brands that we chose did the best with fit in relation to quality. We all reported that our garments from the different brands had the expected fit or shape we look for as individual consumers. This was relatively consistent across the reviews on each brand and garment. The most common apparel quality concern was consistent sizing. We all reported that though we purchased the size we would normally wear for each type of garment, none of us were completely satisfied with the size we bought. This was also consistent throughout the reviews on our brands. It's important to note the difference between the fit and sizing here as well. While each brand did a good job of shaping their garments to attain a certain look, each brand tended to stray from their normal sizing at least a little. Overall, as a group, we agreed that we agree. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Overall, as a group, we agreed that the other consumers agreed with what the other consumers had to say about our brands. The level of quality portrayed in the reviews lines up with the level of quality reported by each of us. While there were differences between our insights and the reviewers pertaining the aspects of quality, the level of quality reported for each brand was consistent.
Alrighty, and I did part C. When looking at each brand, it was noticeable how Abercrombie and Fitch had the most information about apparel quality, while all others didn't have as much information. But in which most brands aligned with their reviews about them and the customer satisfaction. But when comparing transparency and sourcing production practices, Old Navy and Nike were very thorough, while Abercrombie and Fashion Nova had very little information. While not all information was available on these brands' practices, Nike, Gap, and Fashion Nova had more information on outside sources than their own website. As for when it comes to sustainability, each brand has their own level of sustainability and activity within the environment. One thing for my brand personally that I noticed was how Nike had an entire page on their website about stories and descriptions on what they're doing to be positive in the environment. But what does everyone else think of their brand?
So I felt that Old Navy did a really good job of kind of portraying their sustainability and their practices on their website. However, when I looked into their facilities and their other locations where they manufacture their products, they didn't like their practices did not align with what I found in those facilities and what I feel that they aren't as transparent as they claim to be.
Yeah, with Abercrombie and Fitch, I was actually impressed by their level of transparency. Not only did they have a list of everything that they do to attain a certain level of sustainability, but they had links that you could click on after that to take you to different pages. And they just had a lot of transparency with production, where they're getting their fabrics from, things like that. And then they also had a timeline for like all of their sustainability goals. So compared to the other mass fast fashion, everything like that, they did a really good job of transparency and sustainability, I felt.
For my brand personally, I feel like they completely dropped the ball when it came to sustainability. It actually seemed like they were ignoring sustainability completely. Like within their website, like when they were like confronted with like questions or concerns or whatever the case may be about sustainability, like it didn't mention that all like at all. I feel like they mentioned amazing other aspects of their brand, like, oh, our brand has amazing fit, our brand has amazing styles, or our brand has a surplus of sizing to cater to everyone. I feel like they mentioned everything they could have except for sustainability, which is why I will also say, like, I looked to so many outside sources to figure out if this brand was sustainable, if they were like practicing sustainable practices within their brand, and they weren't. I found out things like they were like having problems with their sweatshops and paying like people within their sweatshops, and like, just discriminating people within the workspace. So that was also very hard to hear, or also very hard to learn. Like, even when it comes to their fabrics, that they're not the highest quality and they're actually ruining the ecosystem with their brand. So, and I will not be shopping there anymore, but that's okay. That's okay. That's okay. I guess some of the biggest takeaways that like we all have gained from this project, like over the course of this project, I think that this project has made us much more intentional as consumers, and we're forced to really deep dive into brands and learn about the commitment that they are making to us customers, but heavily looking to if they're upholding the commitment in every other area of their business, whether it's distribution or sustainability or anything like that. Like, I feel like this allowed us to really look into these brands and really decide if that's like who we're going to be as shoppers, or even people within the fashion industry. I know personally that this project has definitely forced me to change as a consumer and start shopping from brands that are more conscious and like are just more aware of their footprint. I don't know about you guys. If anybody wants to chime, you guys are more than welcome.
I completely agree. I feel that this project made me more aware of what to look for whenever I'm shopping somewhere because like Fashion Nova, like I don't support those brands that aren't like for the environment, aren't sustainable, like pay under the table for their sweatshops, stuff like that. So yeah, definitely will be using that information forward from now on. So yeah.
I also believe, like, as future professionals, like, we're definitely impacted by this project because we get to see the industry from a completely different perspective. Like, originally, we're only seeing the perspective of like being consumers and also being consumers within this age range. Like, we don't have a high budget, we're college students. So I feel like it's definitely making us look at the like brands holistically and in its entirety, and notice some of the mistakes or accomplishments that they're making inside of their practice, where it's quality or distribution or sustainability or styling or sizing or inclusion or whatever the case may be. Like, I definitely believe that this has made us better as future professionals, and we will take more of these things into account later down the line because of this project, and also just because of the things that we're constantly learning within our class and in our environment about how these brands are ruining our environment. So yeah, that was a lot, but
Preach.